Brainwaves. So this is a topic I learned about just in the last few years, and I think it's really fascinating. So first of all, when masses of brain neurons talk to each other in a synchronized or coordinated way, it creates a brainwave. At different ages, these brain waves operate at different speeds. These speeds are what we call frequencies. And each brainwave frequency or speed has a related level of alertness as well as a related functional capability within it. So as children, as we grew up, our brain had different brain speeds, and each brain speed had a different level of alertness and different function or ability associated with it. Newborns operate in the slowest brainwave frequency called delta, which is why they sleep so much. Slow brainwave, low level of alertness, not a lot of functional brain activity going on here. At this age, functions are most likely related to getting food, staying warm, and trying to assess safety through their physical senses. Children from about age 2 to 7 operate mostly in the next faster brainwave speed called theta. As adults, we experience theta frequency when we dream. In theta, the brain also experiences the most creativity and imagination, which is probably why we can have some really wacky dreams when we sleep. But think about this with kids. A child's brain at this age is very receptive to learning. But remember, the left brain is not developed enough yet to rationalize or separate out fact from fiction. Plus, child's brains younger than 7 or 8 are operating primarily at theta speed with high imagination and creativity. So you can see why kids from about age 2 to 8 are so impressionable, right? They have a lot of imagination, but not a lot of intellect to separate imagination from fact. That's why they believe everything, which is super fun when it's Santa Claus, but not always fun when it comes to the creation of thoughts and beliefs that may stay with us for life. Especially now that we know the brain has the ability to fill in the gaps or even guess. Yikes. After about 6 or 7, a child's brain starts to transition to the next faster brainwave speed, which is alpha. I love this frequency. This is where the analytical brain, with its critical and rational thinking, is developing, and imagination and creativity are still active. It's like getting the best of both worlds. As adults, when we're awake but feeling calm, quiet, creative, and contemplative, or when we're really attentive and empathetically connecting to another person, our brains are in alpha frequency. So by learning this, you can start to see how slower brain speeds can contribute to inaccurate conclusions and thinking patterns in young brains under the age of about 8 years old. Now, as adults, we can distinguish between fact and fiction. So alpha state is highly desirable. We can even learn to merge fact with creativity for innovative decision-making and effective leadership. But for children less than 8 years old, imagination is far stronger than intellect and pretty much can govern the experience and the belief creation process. And once created, if these imaginative thought patterns are not challenged or corrected, they simply get repeated, reinforced, and stored for reference in our unconscious memory. Simple phrases like, boys don't cry, or you're so clumsy, said in an age when the brain is impressionable and can't separate out fact from a mean comment, and has a brain that has the ability to embellish the experience with imagination, well, you can see how this can lead to generalized beliefs that are inaccurate. And if repeated, these inaccurate phrases can become deeply registered unconscious beliefs, such as, it's not masculine to show emotion, or I'm not coordinated. And neither of those beliefs or the original mean comment are based on fact. Now, as busy adults, our fully developed brains are often dominated by fast-paced beta frequencies. When we're involved in problem solving, judgment, and decision making, we're operating in beta frequency. But at its fastest, most extreme range, beta is also present with high anxiety, complex thought, or excitement. High range beta frequency consumes a lot of energy and is not an efficient way for the brain to routinely operate, which is why overthinking can be exhausting. This high range beta frequency or speed is also far from the brain speed where creativity, empathy, and imagination takes place, which is alpha, right? So although beta speed is great for calculation and decision making, high range beta is not optimal for innovation, empathy, or creative thinking. And lastly, gamma frequency is our brain's fastest speed. It's where we do our most intense learning and integration. It's our peak concentration speed, but it can also be extremely energy demanding or expensive. So let's do a quick summary. Brain neurons talk to each other at different brainwave speeds called frequencies. Babies sleep a lot because they're primarily in delta frequency. Children 2 to 8 years old operate in theta frequency, which is why they are so creative and have a lot of imagination. The frequency where we can use both our intellect and imagination is called alpha frequency. At this speed, our brains can solve problems, make sound decisions, while also accessing creativity and empathy. Complex thought, excitement, and high anxiety are often seen in high range beta frequency. At this high-end brain speed, we can't access creativity or imagination like we can in the slower alpha frequency. So one thing I want you to understand is that we're designed to go back and forth between these brain speeds, depending on what we're doing. Alert and creative during the day and high performing when we want to, and then relaxing, contemplating, and sleeping as restoration. However, similar to dysregulated emotional response ranges, we can spend too much time in one brain speed or the other. And then the other network areas of our brain that thrive at different speeds end up being used less and therefore weaken. Brains that operate predominantly in slower brain speeds, they have a lot of imagination, but often have difficulty concentrating, have wandering thoughts, can get lost in fantasy, and have difficulty controlling their emotions. Brains that operate predominantly at higher speeds will no doubt see great performance and intellectual achievement, but may struggle to relate emotionally to others and sometimes lack the ability to create or innovate. So, part of our brain strengthening and integration efforts include learning to slow our brains down or speed them up in just the right amounts and frequently enough to not only make lasting change, but also to keep your brain strong and operating more efficiently as a whole.